everyone. I'm happy to see everybody back today with me. So today I'm going to be doing the first project. It's going to be the salt and flour recipe, and I'm going to do some sculptures with it, and also at the end we're going to see different kinds of paints that will go good on it. So to start, we're going to start with the recipe. I will put it in the description below, but it's really simple. So you have 1 cup of flour that I'll put in the bowl right here, or 250 milliliters if you prefer. A half a cup of salt, or 125 milliliters. And also half a cup of water, or 4 ounces. But I'm going to mix the dry ingredients first. So with my spoon, I'm going to mix the dry ingredients. And then I'm going to add the water. When it gets to be too hard to mix, you can just transfer it directly on the table, and it will be easier for you to do it on the table. So I'm just going to clean the rest that's in the bowl. To empty the bowl. I'm going to clean the spoon off with the knife, sorry. And then with my hands, I'm going to start to mix it together. At first, it might seem as if there's not enough water. You might need to add a tiny bit, but I'd wait a while before adding it just to make sure. Because once you add it, then you have to add more flour to try to get it dry again, and it's just better to wait to the end for the end, because you want it not too moist. With dough, you can also pick up the rest of the salt and flour that's on the table. So now that I see the consistency, I might add just a little bit, but I won't add it directly on. I have a little container of water right here. I also have a little container of flour. So I am going to just moisten my hands with the water, and then continue mixing it. And then knead it a bit. Yeah, that seems about right. So then I'm just going to make a block out of it. Like a brick. And then I'm just going to cut it in 2. And half I'm going to put into just a Ziploc bag on the side so that it doesn't dry out. So now, this one I'm also going to cut in half, put one on the side over there. So the first project I'm going to do, I'm going to use a roller. If you don't have a roller, you can also use just like a glass or anything that's round to roll it with. It could be like just to round it off. And I turn it around so that it doesn't stick. If ever it does stick a bit, you can add a little bit of flour. Or if it's too dry, you can add a little bit of water. I try to get it about the same thickness because I find it does a better project. So now I'm going to take a cup, make a circle. I'm going to put this aside. So because it's Easter this week, this is going to be an egg. So we're going to make an egg so we can make it like a decoration. So if you have cookie cutters, you can also use cookie cutters to do different sculptures if you want. But it's easy just by shaping this circle to make the shape of an egg. Now, to make the hole so that I can put the string later on, I can use either just a straw to make the hole. And if you don't have a straw, you can also just use a toothpick and put it just like this way to make the hole. So now I have the egg with the hole in it. So as I mentioned on the other video, this is going to be able to be cooked either in the microwave or in the oven. So I just have a parchment paper on a plate. You don't have to have the parchment paper. You can put directly on the plate if you want. Just makes it easy to transfer if you do. So I'm going to just put it on the parchment paper, and this one's ready. So I'm going to move that over. So with this other one, I'm going to make a heart. So it's not big enough to do the circle at first, but just with the shape that it's in right now, I can manipulate it to have like a heart shape. Again, I can use the roller if I want to have it really flat. So if you have sculpture tools at home, you can use them, but you don't need to. You can use just a butter knife, a toothpick. That works really fine. My hands are getting dry, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my hands so that it's easier to smooth it out. So this one, I'm going to make the holes with the toothpick. And I'm going to make 2 holes to have it with a string attached to each side. So the 2 holes there. So to make different than the egg, I'm going to add some texture to this one. So I put my fingers in the water and wet the top a little bit. And you can use different types. Like I have this fabric that has holes in it. So when I press down onto the fabric, and I get it off, it does the texture of the fabric on the sculpture. You can also use different yarns or threads or rope that you can press in. And then I'm going to touch up the holes. You can also use the toothpick to do some texture on it, like on the side. I'll have pictures of this close up also afterwards so you can see. So if it's just a simple heart shape with the texture, it adds a little. So I'm going to put this also on my plate. So you can have something simple also for the smaller kids. So because this is getting a little bit dry, I'm going to put a little bit of water on my hands. I would never put the clay or the Play-Doh directly in the water because then it's going to be too much water. And if there's too much water, it's not going to work good. So I put the water on my hands to get my hands moist. And then I can add it to the clay. So you can roll directly on the table. Or you can also roll it in your hands. So for the smaller kids, sometimes some simple things are easier to do. So this can be a snake. You can also do letters. So example, my name is Suzanne. So I can do an S. You can also practice to do different letters of the alphabet. They can do their letters of their names, but they can also do, so we can do a C or, so all the different letters with, and you can do the same thing, cook them in the microwave. They can paint them so that that's their letter. So we'll just do a snake again and then leave it as a snake. So as you see, even if I had done something, I just started over. If you make a mistake, just start over. You just put the clay up all together again. If it gets dry, add a little bit of water. So I'm going to put this also in my plate. So a little bit of water again in my hands. So I know that at this time of year, we're all looking forward to the snow melting, but I'm going to make a snowman for two reasons. One's because kids like doing snowmen, making snowmen. And two, because it's going to be able to give me a reason to give you this technique. I'll explain to you as I go. So I'm right now just going to make different ball sizes. So the bottom one, I can flatten that out a bit just on the bottom so that it stays better, stands better. Now to attach all these together, you can make a structure with a Q-tip. So you just put it in the middle. Now, if I just put these one on top of the other, because of the structure is there, it will probably stay. Toothpick, not Q-tip, toothpick. So because but when you add another structure on, you put a little bit of water. That water is going to be like a glue. When it hardens, when it cooks in the microwave or in the oven, it's going to act as a glue. I'll show you the difference in a minute when I show you some that I did this afternoon. So again, the other one, I put a little bit of water. Now we can make a hat. So I could do the hat this way, but you know what? This afternoon I made a top hat on one and a cowboy hat on the other. So this one's going to be a toque. How's that? Because when we make snowmen outside, we don't always do the same thing. So again, I can add a structure to help hold it and some water to make like the glue. So also with this toothpick, you can use it as a tool to make details. So the face, and you can break a piece off and make it the nose. So for the arms, you can either have 2 toothpicks this way, or you can have this afternoon, the one I made was with arms with the salt and flour clay on it, and I have another one also that I did this way also. So this one would be ready also to go onto my plate. So now I'm going to take the rest of the clay out. Divide it in two again. Put the other one away. I'm going to use the roller again. I'm going to use the cup again to make a circle. Now with this circle, I'm going to make an owl. I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit. Now you can use different things to make different textures, as like when I use this fabric, I can use this part of the cap and make half circles on the bottom. And you're going to see in a minute what it's going to make. So I just did this little texture. Then I'm folding this over this way. So I folded it the circle over once. And then I'm folding it again on top. Now these are going to become the ears. I'm going to use this cap again to do the eyes. And a toothpick to do the middle of the eyes. And again, this to make the beak. And there's an owl. Again, I'll take pictures of the details so you can see it. So this one is ready to go on my plate also. Okay, let's see. What else did I do? Okay. So now let's make a dragon. Maybe some of the little boys would like to make a dragon. So for the dragon, I'm going to manipulate the Play-Doh with my fingers by pinching the clay or the Play-Doh to make the tail. So I'm going thinner and thinner as I go. And then I'm going to turn it a little bit to have the tail go out, like to be swerving. So I want to have also on this part, I want to have some stuff sticking out. So also I'm going to moisten my hands a little bit because the clay is getting dry a little bit. So again, not water directly on the clay, but on your hands. And for the ears, you can also do the same thing. So I'm pinching to create the texture for the ears, the shape for the ears. And then the face. So I'm wanting to put some scales coming up here. So I can do it in two different ways. I'm going to take some more of the clay out. So I can do them by either making a shape, adding a little bit of water, and adding it on. Or if there's enough, I can also pinch and have it shaped directly. And also, for the smaller part, if I take it with my toothpick and I cut little parts, then after that I can go, I can go with my hand, my fingers, and make the points. Okay, so now we're going to make some wings. So we're going to put this little guy over here. Take a little bit more clay. And divide it in two, approximately the same size. And we're going to roll it. So then, while it's still on the table, I can even cut some parts off, either with this or with the knife, to have it the shape that I want it. Or I can just shape it with my hands. My hands are getting dry again, so I'm adding water to my hands to be able to manipulate it better. So I'm going to try to have both the same shape approximately. And I'm going to stretch it out a little bit thinner. Okay. And then I'm going to add it to the dragon. So when I add it, I can fold it a little bit also. I wouldn't be able to add it this way and not having anything hold it. It's going to end up falling when it cooks. So I want to have it like on the side, leaning like almost like on the table. So again, a little bit of water to serve as that glue. And attaching it to the side. Now, I can add different textures to this. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like. So now if I look at the clay that's laying around, I'm going to maybe add some horns. And I can go add some eyes and work a little bit for the mouth. And the nose. He's kind of cute. Okay. So I could have added legs before so we could see them sticking out a little bit. But because the legs, the wings are on top, we're going to say the wings are hiding them. So I'm also going to show you, you can put it in the microwave to harden, as I said when I presented the video, but you can also put it in the oven. So in the oven, I'm just going to go get the pan over here and I'll be right back. Okay, so the pan, just an oven pan, you can either put it on parchment paper, like I said, like we're putting in the plates for the microwave, or you can put it on foil paper. It's the same thing, it's fine. Even if you didn't have foil, you can put it directly in the pan, just easier to take off and manipulate if you put it on something before. So you can put it directly either on the foil or on the parchment paper. So, well, I'll explain also the cooking time in a minute afterwards. Just gonna put this over here. So this is the clay that's left. So for the last project, I'm gonna do a horseshoe for good luck. So with the rolling pin again. And I'm gonna cut out the middle. There we go. So the clay and my hands are getting dry a little bit. So again, a little bit of water on my hands, not directly on the clay. There we go. So again, on this, I could do like I did on the heart and have a little bit of texture. And I'm going to add a flower. So for the flower, first I'm going to do a few pieces for leaves. Again, my hands are getting dry. So I flattened out a piece just like this, curling it a little bit and adding it down there. And again, I flatten, I pointing it out, curl it a little bit, I'll put it over here. I'm going to show you what I have so far. So if you're working a piece that you have a lot of details on and you don't want to have to lift it up and ruin it, you can work directly on a parchment paper. That way when you lift it to go put it either in the oven or in the microwave, you have it directly on. But because I want you to be able to see better, I'm going to leave it directly on the black. So there was a little bit of water left on here, so I didn't add water every time I put some pieces because I knew it was already wet. So now I'm going to add a flower. So I just did some balls, flatten them out. These are going to be the petals of the flower. And I could just put like a little ball in the middle to make the middle of the flower. and then curl this up a little bit. So I can also add details on this with either the toothpick or the knife, do different textures. And the last thing I'm going to show you with the rest of the little bit of the clay that's left is you can use a garlic crusher, I think it's called. And for this, you're going to need a little bit of water, more water in the clay because you want it a little bit more moist and soft. So I just add like 2 or 3 times so that it just gets a little bit softer. And I press down. And I'm just going to lift again and put more in. Press down. And put it back in. Press down. I think that's probably good. This is also good to make hair on a head. It's actually pretty, works really nice actually. Okay, now for the cooking. So in the microwave, let's say a plate like this, you would put it for probably a minute and 15 seconds. So first you put it 30 seconds, always 30 seconds maximum at a time. 30 seconds, open the door, take it out, look at it. Another 30 seconds, and then check. You can even turn it around to check to see if it's hard underneath or if it still needs to be more. And then another 15 seconds after that, and then check every 15 seconds. But this afternoon when I did the plate exactly like this, it took me 30 seconds, 15 seconds in the microwave. So that's for the microwave. Now, depending on when I did the owl, I did it alone. So this is the owl that I did alone this afternoon. And I put it to 30 seconds, 30 seconds. And you're going to be able to tell if it's too much because it's going to start to get brown a bit on different places, especially the thin areas. So you know you've done enough. Even if it's still soft underneath, it'll eventually dry. So you don't have to have it perfectly hardened everywhere. So it'll eventually harden because it will air dry the rest. You want to at least have it the good part done. So that's for cooking in the microwave. So you can also, if for some reason you don't have a microwave or it's not working right now, you can put it in the oven, like I showed you in the pan. Now in the oven, I put my oven at 250 or 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius if you'd rather, for 40 minutes. If you put your oven lower, you need to leave it longer. You don't want your oven hot like at 350. It's going to be way too hot. So 250, 40 minutes, and I had quite a few pieces on there and it was fine. So, okay, that's for the oven and microwave. So that's for the cooking. Now the painting. So the painting, first of all, if you don't have paint, it's okay. You can do it with markers or with color crayons. So I'm going to show you that right here. Might not even have to pause the video. And, oh no, we might have to pause it because I'm going to have to go get something. Okay, I think I get everything. So we're going to start again. So if you don't have paint, no worries. You can do it with your markers. So you take your marker. I'm going to take the sample of the egg. And I'm going to go underneath because the front's starting to get... And you can draw directly with your marker. Or colored pencils. I did this top part with the colored pencil. And I can do this bottom part too. So as you see, it's nice. And then after that, you can on top add either Sharpie, permanent markers, or your other markers on top of the pencils if you have some. So that's for if you don't have paint. Paint. You can use any kinds of paint. If you just have these blocks of paint, that's fine. You're gonna want to, I'm gonna just see which one I'm gonna make. I'm gonna paint the heart that I did earlier. So you're gonna want to have a lot of water on and rub a lot onto the paint, because if you don't do it a lot, it'll be light. But if you move your brush quite a bit on there, then it'll be dark enough for you to have a really nice color. So now you're going to notice that painting these sculptures, it's not going to be the same as just painting like on a paper or a cardboard or even a canvas. There's a texture to it. So you're going to have to move your pencil, your brush to get into those cracks. I call it tickling the sculpture. Because you don't want to push too hard on your brush either, because that could ruin your brush. But you want to be able to have it so that it hides all the white of the clay. So I'm just going to do half of it so you can see. Gives you a good idea. Okay, so that is for that one. So now if you have liquid paint like this, which is not acrylic, it doesn't matter. You can still do your sculpture with that. I'm looking for a snake. Okay, so this snake, I painted it with this paint, and it worked really nice. So when I did do this one, I put the green on first, and then the brown, and then I mixed the green and brown on my brush to do like a little texture onto the snake, to do like a snake skin. So don't be afraid to try different things and different color mixes, because it can do really nice. So that's for the liquid wash paint. Now, if you have acrylic paint, that's really good too, even better in a way, but it's not necessarily better. It's still nice with the other paint. So the dragon that I did this afternoon, I painted it blue, red, and yellow with acrylic paint. But it's just a dollar store paint. So again, with the brush, you're going to have to tickle to really get into the sculpture and get into the white. So the other thing you can add once you finish painting is some Mod Podge, if you have some. If you don't, it's fine. But it does a really nice finish if you do. So if you look at this side, and again, I'll take some really nice pictures of the close-ups so you can see better. And this side does not have the Mod Podge on it. So it does really get a nice finish and shine on there. So again, this snake, this side does not have Mod Podge. This side does. And it was done with the other paints, just so you can see. You can put Mod Podge also, if you want, on top of the pencil and marker one. It's fine. So I'm going to try to get these painted and have pictures in the description below. So the only other thing I want to be able to say is when you're painting, you can plan your painting. So example, this owl. I didn't paint it yet, but I drew different ones and different colors to try different color schemes to see what I like best. So when I paint it, I'll know which one I like best, and I'll paint it the color that I prefer. Because all the sculptures and all the projects that I showed you here, you can do millions of different options. You can go online, you can go on Pinterest, you can go, there's lots of ideas everywhere. The technique is going to be the same. So now you know the technique, so you can redo it. But it's going to be your sculpture. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same owl. It's not going to be the same dragon or the same snake. It's It's going to be your snake or your dragon or your project. So it can be anything. So the other thing I want to mention too, when I said for the water in between for the glue. So this one, when I made the snowman, I put some water. So you can tell it's really attached. This snowman, when I made it, I did not put water. So you see how it comes apart easily? So it really is important to put that water when you add two pieces together so that it stays together. I think that's it for the finishing touches. Oh, and for the ornaments, you can just add a string through the hole. And for the next project, which might be coming out Thursday, I'm going to be doing some windmills that's going to look like a flower with recycled bottles. Probably 1 liter that I'm going to do for a sample, but you can have either a 2 liter or a smaller one. It doesn't matter. And if you have an old hanger, it will help for that. And also either wooden beads, but I'll have another option if you don't have that you'll be able to do it with another technique. So thank you for watching. Bye.